Hi, I'm Mel, and I'm so glad you could make it for a chat about Rome. If you were thinking of going there for your first time, what are the top 10 things that you might go there for, to see, to do, to experience? In this video, we'll be talking about the good things. In another, we'll discuss the bad, but not here. But for now, let's concentrate on the Romans, the ruins, the palazzos, the piazzas, the food and the fountains. It's just an incredible place to delight your eyes, your ears and your taste buds. I've been going there for some time now, and maybe the years could have been kinder, but enough about me. We're talking about your first trip to Rome, and what a truly amazing place it is. No trip to Rome, especially your first trip to Rome, would be complete without seeing the Colosseum. It was built almost 2,000 years ago and had a seating capacity of 60,000 spectators. It was a place of execution, of gladiatorial combat and animal hunts. And it's been reckoned that the lives of some 400,000 slaves, gladiators, convicts and Christians came to an untimely end in the arena. And whilst the outside's all well and good, nothing can compare to seeing the inside. The best view is to be had from the arena floor level. Where you look up into the bowl, you imagine 60,000 screaming spectators and you see history. What more can be said about the Trevi Fountain? It's a bit of a cliché, but an amazing place nonetheless. It's a huge fountain that seems to grow organically somehow from the side of a building. I'm not sure, but in the past I think you used to see people working at their desks. You hear it long before you actually see it, the sound of the water and of the crowds. And as you get closer, suddenly it appears in front of you. In all of its glory, its cheesy glory. I've been 6 times, but never been disappointed. Not far away is the Pantheon, and as you're about to see, it's one of the most complete Roman buildings to be found anywhere in the world. There are outside 16 massive granite columns brought all the way from Egypt, and inside there are the tombs of the painter Raphael and the kings of Italy, along with a truly incredible and beautiful dome stretching all the way up to the oculus open to the air. When it rains outside, it also rains inside the Pantheon. And now to the Vatican City, home to the smallest state in the world with just some 750 residents. It's got its own army, and it's an elective monarchy that the Pope rules absolutely. It contains 2 of the sites you're going to want to see on your first trip to Rome. Firstly, St. Peter's Basilica. It's the largest church in the world. For example, the baldacchino, the structure we see over the main altar ahead of us now, is about 30 meters high, 100 foot. St. Peter's is vast. It can take a congregation of 60,000 people if they're standing up, or 20,000 people seated. It's home to some fantastic artwork, like St. Peter we see here, but most notably Michelangelo's Pietà, one of the most beautiful things you can see in Rome, maybe the earth. The second thing you will want to see in the Vatican is the museums. You enter via the famous spiral staircase, and then you encounter room upon room of classical Roman statues and the works of Raphael, as well as some rather strange and possibly bizarre modern sculptures, and not to forget, last but not least, the Sistine Chapel itself, where you get a crick in the neck looking at all the wondrous artworks. Now, this good-looking chap is standing in front of the Roman Forum. As the heart of ancient Rome, it contains sites such as the Temple of the Vestal Virgins, Temple of Saturn, it's where Julius Caesar's body was cremated, and in the sense that all roads lead to Rome, they led to the Roman Forum, because here is the Umphalos, literally the belly button of the Roman world, and the place that all those distances were measured from. There's also the Basilica of Maxentius and Constantine, the Temple of Castor and Pollux, the Senate House, and so on. It's definitely a place where you need a good guidebook, or better yet, a good guide, to understand what you're seeing. But if you do your homework, I'm sure you're going to have a fantastic time there and see sites such as 4th century Christian churches, the Arch of Septimus Severus, or as we see here, the Triumphal Arch of Titus. On to Piazza Navona. It's a mixture of mostly 17th century buildings, but built around the oval shape of a ruined Roman running track, constructed by the Emperor Domitian. What we see now is truly one of Rome's Baroque glories. There are 3 gushing fountains, the Fountain of the Four Rivers in the centre that we see here, and the Fountain of Neptune at the northern end, and at the southern end there's the Fountain of the Moor. One of the most notable buildings in the square, standing opposite the central Fountain of the Four Rivers, is Borromini's Church, Sant'Agnese in Agone. Now to the Spanish Steps, or as the Italians called them, the Scalinata di Trinità dei Monti. From the Fountain of the Leaky Boat at the bottom, up the 135 steps to the Church of Trinità dei Monti at the top, complete with a Roman copy of an Egyptian obelisk. It's very much a place to see and to be seen in Rome. The first time I was there was for a friend's wedding, and they, like many others, had their wedding photographs taken on the Spanish Steps. But do be careful as you go down. You're not only worrying about tripping, but there's a €400 fine if you dare to sit on any of the 135 steps. Because as we can see here, in years gone by, it was difficult to even get up and down the steps due to all the people sitting in the way. How could you even think about going to Rome without going out for a meal? There are hundreds of places everywhere you look. Pizzerias, gelaterias, pasta, all manner of amazing Roman food. And we are talking about Roman food here. So it's pasta alla carbonara, alla gricia, amatriciana. All of these are Roman specialties, and they're thin and crispy pizza. You can get the doughy Neapolitan style, as we see here, but it's only about half the pizzerias that'll serve that. You can get involved yourself. Here we see a member of staff rolling out pasta. You might have thought it was pizza, but no, you throw a pizza, you don't roll a pizza. And this is now one of our friends getting involved, and she's rolling out the dough, being very, very careful that it's thin enough to serve. See, I told you. If you've got even the slightest interest in art, you really should consider visiting some of the world-class art galleries there are in Rome. Here we're looking at the Galleria Borghese, containing some of Bernini's masterful sculptures. This one's carved from a single block of marble. And this is the Galleria Doria Pamphili, containing artworks collected by many people, including this guy, Pope Innocent X, one of the Doria family. Oh yes, and these are some of his Caravaggios. And talking of Caravaggios, this chap could take you on a guided tour of the sites around Rome where you can see some of the artwork for free. Sites such as Sant'Agostino, which contains Caravaggio's Madonna di Loreto. And finally, as we pass through the 15th century gates to Rome, the Porta Flaminia, here is an example of what happens every day that you're in Rome. You go somewhere that you've never heard of before, especially on your first visit, and you see some incredible sights that would make the top 10 in any other city. Ahead of us is a 3,000-year-old Egyptian obelisk commissioned by Seti I, brought here 2,000 years ago by the Emperor Augustus, and set here in the heart of Piazza del Popolo. And over on our left now is Santa Maria del Popolo, a church where Tom Hanks got some vital clues in the Dan Brown film Angels and Demons, and a church which contains some amazing artwork by Caravaggio and Bernini. And sadly, friends, our first time visit to Rome is drawing to a close. So I do hope that I've earned your subscription, and you know how these YouTube things work. Better than me, I expect. So if you could like, subscribe, comment, by all means ask me any questions and I'll get back to you, in order to stay in touch and so you'll know where we're going for your next visit. Possibly Ostia Antica, as we see here just outside of Rome, or Bologna, Siena, who knows where we'll be. But friends, this is it. I've been Mel, and I'd just like to say thanks very much for being here too.